Previously on Quantum Break.
Quantum Break is an experience you've never had before on your Xbox One. One of Microsoft's headline exclusives for the console, Remedy's put forward an interactive experience which brings together live action and gameplay for something which is really special. From the get-go, there's talent. You've got Aidan Gillen from Game of Thrones and Shawn Ashmore from the X-Men series, and both of them fulfill their roles really well. The characters are believable, well thought out, but really it's the relationship between the two which is where things start to get a bit lacking. Dominic Monaghan's in there too as well, but maybe we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. Let's start back from the beginning. Shawn Ashmore plays Jack Joyce, a 20-something guy who's been out of Riverport, where the game is set, for the last 5 years, and is called back by Paul Serene, played by Aidan Gillen, for a test of an experiment which he says will change the world. Of course, nothing really goes to plan, and the game starts to transpire from there. It's no surprise that Joyce and Serene are odds through the game, and you begin to discover why as you discover more of the plot. Monaghan plays Joyce's brother Will, who's really the brains behind time travel in this universe. There's supporting players as well, who you might recognise from elsewhere, but the overall narrative is strong enough to hold the whole game together. Really, it's the story element which is the most compelling part of this game, and if you do spend the time to go around looking at the emails and logs and different intel items which crop up, then you do get a lot more out of it. If you just speedrun through and focus on the action, then you're going to be disappointed. It's those tiny little elements which Remedy's put in which really start to add weight to the world, and the live action shorts, which add probably more to the secondary characters, give a lot of weight to them when you meet them in the game. So Jack's been put in a difficult situation, a timey-wimey sort of situation, but thankfully he's got powers to help him out, whether it's freezing time or running fast through time. Gears of War is clearly a strong influence, but there's not as strong a cover system as you might see in something like The Division. Really, the game is designed to have you moving around through time and using the powers to stay mobile and stay out of enemies' line of sight. At the end of each of the gameplay sections, you're given a choice of one of two options, which have an impact on how the game plays out, both in the live-action TV show and the game itself. Initially, it's not very clear how much of an impact these choices will make, but as you start to think about how the plot has transpired, you begin to see how things could have been different. Really, it's the journey here and not the destination which you need to focus on, because if you're expecting wildly different branching endings, then you're going to be out of luck. Really, the game ends up at the same point, but you're finding different things out about different characters, with different people betraying different people, and different people trusting each other as you go through. Again, it's the supporting players who have the biggest changing roles here. There are a few platforming and puzzle elements to the game as you start to manipulate time to make your way around, but they're very, very minor. In terms of puzzles, certainly nothing along the level of something like Resident Evil, and in fact the platforming elements remind me of Devil May Cry, the reboot from a couple of years ago. The powers themselves are fun to use, they definitely add a different spin on combat. Combining them together and mastering that is really the challenge of this game, because overall the combat's not that difficult. It's fairly standard for what you might expect, and really that's a good balance. The important things about this game are really the characters and whether or not you buy into their story. The live action elements really add a lot of weight to that and make it feel a lot more easy to suspend your disbelief, but if you're someone who can't get over little gaps in logic, particularly when it comes to time travel, then you're going to have a difficult time with this one. The characters are compelling, and even a strong number of female characters, but really it's Jack who you follow through the narrative as it all plays out. Production values on the TV show live action element are really high, but if you're expecting something along the lines of Netflix, then you might want to temper expectations a little bit. Having said that, they really do add a lot to the experience, although you can skip them completely if you want. In fact, you can skip a lot of the superfluous story aspects by not reading the intel and just collecting everything as you go along, but really that spoils what makes the game special. The story is so interwoven with the combat, it's really the strength of what carries you through the experience. Really, if this is a game for you or not depends on what sort of games that you like, but if you've got an Xbox and you're a fan of third-person action, then this was really something worth checking out.